Imagine this. You're a police officer responding to a routine call. You've been trained to handle dangerous criminals, high-speed chases, and life-threatening situations. But nothing in your training prepared you for what happens when the perpetrator isn't from this world. Today I'm sharing 3 bone-chilling encounters where law enforcement officers came face-to-face with the paranormal. If you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, you've come to the right place because that's all we do here. Before we begin, please take a moment to smash the like button. Also, please subscribe and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Now, let's dive into today's stories. In April of 2017, Officer James Rodriguez was working the graveyard shift in Malacca, Malaysia. It was a quiet night at the Bandar Hilir police station, the kind of shift where officers catch up on paperwork and count the hours until dawn. At approximately 4:15 a.m., Officer Rodriguez was at his desk when something caught his attention. The glass entrance doors to the station suddenly swung open, though no one was standing outside. What made this particularly strange was that the doors opened in the opposite direction than they normally would, almost as if they were being pulled from the inside rather than pushed from the outside. Rodriguez immediately jumped up from his desk and went to investigate. Several other officers who witnessed the incident joined him. As they approached the doors, they noticed something else unusual. Both entrance and exit doors had opened simultaneously, but in opposite directions, which shouldn't have been physically possible given the door mechanism. The station boss, Sheikh Abdullah, would later insist to reporters the doors opened because of a technical fault, possibly affected by wind pressure. But Officer Rodriguez and his colleagues knew better. There had been no wind that night, no power surge, and no explanation for why both sets of doors would open in opposing directions at exactly the same time. What made this incident even more chilling was the local legend surrounding the police station. Years earlier, a suspect had allegedly died while in custody at that very station. Locals believed his spirit had returned, seeking revenge against the institution that had failed him. As Officer Rodriguez and his colleagues examined the doors, they found no mechanical issues. The security cameras had captured the entire incident, showing the doors opening on their own with no visible cause. The footage would later go viral, with millions of viewers unable to explain what they were seeing. 7 years later, there have been no signs of technical faults with those doors, and they've never opened on their own again. Whatever or whoever opened them that night remains a mystery, one that still haunts the officers who witnessed it firsthand. On March 14, 2027, police in Brazil responded to what should have been a routine noise complaint. Staff working at a local school had reported strange sounds coming from one particular floor of the building after hours. When everyone had gone home for the day, the noises would start, doors slamming, objects moving, voices whispering in empty hallways. The school administration initially dismissed these reports as imagination or perhaps the building settling. But when multiple staff members reported the same phenomena, they finally called the authorities. Officers Mateo Silva and Carlos Oliveira arrived at the school around 9 p.m. Both were seasoned veterans with over a decade of experience each. They'd handled everything from armed robberies to domestic disputes, but nothing could have prepared them for what awaited them inside that school. As they entered the building, everything seemed normal. The hallways were quiet, the classrooms empty. They made their way to the floor where the noises had been reported, flashlights illuminating the darkness ahead of them. "I don't hear anything," Officer Silva said, his voice echoing slightly in the empty corridor. That's when it happened. A door at the end of the hallway suddenly slammed shut with such force that both officers jumped. Their body cameras captured the entire incident, the door violently closing as if someone had thrown their entire weight against it. Officer Oliveira immediately drew his weapon, calling out, "Police! Is anyone there?" Silence. The officers cautiously approached the door, which led to a small lobby area. Inside was a fire suppression system, a small metal box mounted on the wall. As they got closer to inspect it, the slamming noise stopped. There wasn't a single sign of wind in the lobby, no open windows, nothing that could explain the door's movement. Just as they were about to dismiss it as perhaps a draft they couldn't feel, another door slammed behind them. Their body cameras swiveled to capture the second door closing with the same violent force as the first. For the next 20 minutes, the officers experienced a series of inexplicable events, doors opening and closing on their own, lights flickering despite the building's power being stable, and at one point, what sounded like a child's laughter echoing from an empty classroom. The most compelling evidence came when Officer Silva's body camera captured a small shadow darting across the hallway, too fast and too small to be an adult, yet the building had been thoroughly searched and confirmed empty before their arrival. When they finally left the school, both officers were visibly shaken. Their report mentioned the unexplained phenomena, but officially the case was closed as no evidence of criminal activity. Unofficially, both officers requested never to be assigned to that school again. Local historians would later reveal that the school had been built on the site of an orphanage that had burned down in the 1940s, claiming the lives of several children. Whether this tragic history explains what Officers Silva and Oliveira experienced that night remains a mystery. On October 10th, 2023, Officer Michael Thompson was conducting a routine traffic stop in a small town in Nevada. His dash cam and body cam were both recording as he pulled over a silver sedan for speeding and running a stop sign. The driver, a young woman who identified herself as Sarah, seemed nervous but cooperative. "This is my first time being pulled over," she told Officer Thompson as she handed over her license. "Where are you headed to?" Thompson asked, noting her excessive speed. "Just to a friend's house for a birthday party. It's literally right there," Sarah replied, pointing down the road. After checking for any signs of intoxication and finding none, Officer Thompson returned to his patrol car to run her information. This is where things took a bizarre turn. As Thompson was checking Sarah's registration in his patrol car, he glanced up to see that Sarah was no longer visible in her vehicle. Concerned, he called out, "Sarah?" and then radioed for backup, using code 3201. "Officer needs assistance." The dash cam footage clearly shows Thompson approaching the vehicle again, but Sarah is nowhere to be seen. The driver's door hadn't opened. The dash cam would have captured that. The windows were all up. There was simply no way she could have exited the vehicle without being seen. When backup arrived, officers searched the area thoroughly, but found no trace of Sarah. Even more disturbing, when they ran the license she had provided, no record of anyone matching her description could be found. The car was registered to an elderly woman who reported it stolen 3 days earlier. The body cam and dash cam footage went viral, with millions of viewers unable to explain how Sarah could have vanished from a locked car while under direct observation. Some skeptics suggested camera glitches or clever editing, but multiple forensic analyses confirmed the footage was authentic and unaltered. Officer Thompson, a 15-year veteran of the force with an impeccable record, stands by what he experienced. "I've seen a lot of strange things in my career," he told reporters later, "but nothing that defies explanation like this. One moment she was there, the next she was gone. It's like she just disappeared into thin air." To this day, no trace of the mysterious Sarah has ever been found. Her true identity remains unknown, and the circumstances of her impossible disappearance continue to baffle law enforcement and paranormal investigators alike. In June 2023, Security Officer 1275 was conducting his nightly patrol of a local cemetery in Georgia. Like many security guards assigned to cemeteries, he was accustomed to the eerie silence and occasional strange sounds that come with the territory. But what he experienced that night went far beyond the usual creaks and rustles of an old graveyard. The officer's body camera was recording as he made his rounds, checking that the cemetery grounds were secure. As he approached one particular building on the property, he began to feel uneasy. "I'm at site 422, he reported into his radio. "This place definitely gives out some creepy vibes." As he continued his patrol, his body camera captured something extraordinary. a shadowy figure moving inside the building, visible through one of the windows. What made this particularly disturbing was that the building was supposed to be empty and locked for the night. "I keep seeing shadows walking by," the officer reported, his voice tense with apprehension. Determined to investigate, the officer approached the building cautiously. As he got closer, his body camera picked up what sounded like faint laughter coming from inside, a chilling, unnatural sound that made the hair on the back of his neck stand up. "What the?" the officer muttered, clearly startled by what he was hearing. The footage shows the officer hesitating at the entrance, clearly torn between his duty to investigate and his instinct to flee. Eventually, professionalism won out, and he entered the building, his flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. What happened next has become the subject of intense debate among paranormal researchers. As the officer moved through the building, his body camera captured a distinct shadow figure moving across the far wall, too solid to be a trick of the light, too fast to be anything natural. The officer's reaction was immediate and visceral. He backed away rapidly, his breathing heavy with fear. "Holy!" he exclaimed, the rest of his words lost as he turned and ran from the building. Later, when reviewing the footage, investigators noticed something the officer himself hadn't seen in the moment. As he fled the building, a second shadow figure appeared briefly in the doorway behind him, as if watching him leave. The officer filed an official report about the incident, but like many such encounters, it was quietly filed away without further investigation. He requested a transfer to daytime shifts shortly afterward, and has refused to discuss the incident publicly since then. Local historians note that the cemetery dates back to the Civil War era and has been the site of numerous reported paranormal activities over the years. Whether Officer 1275 encountered restless spirits that night or something else entirely remains one of the many unsolved mysteries of the paranormal world. These 4 encounters remind us that sometimes the line between our world and whatever lies beyond is thinner than we might like to believe. When those trained to protect us from earthly threats come face to face with something they can't explain, it forces us all to question what we think we know about reality. If you enjoyed these true paranormal encounters, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel. And don't forget to subscribe for more of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format. Until next time, remember that not everything that goes bump in the night can be explained away. Sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction.